here we are pretty much at the end of the year, just another week or so to go, and one of the things I hear every year, and I'm sure you do, is that it all just flew by so quickly, as if they were just getting faster and faster each year that goes along. And some people even really seem to think that time is speeding up in some way or other. But of course, time is really much more about our perception of it. And two things affect our perception of time. One of them is actually related to aging. And age and what you're doing with your life at that time has some sense of power over our perception of time. A good example is that someone who's at school usually perceives time as moving quite slowly, as the drag of the day and of the classes and so on just takes the whole day long, whereas someone doing something exciting or fun or playful usually perceives it as very quickly over. So obviously perception has got a lot to do with it, and age sometimes causes us to imagine that things are speeding up more and more and more because of the other reason that time seems to speed up so much, and that is we fill our lives with so much stuff. So of course what happens as you get older is you get busier. You have more tasks and responsibilities, and you have to earn money and do all sorts of things. We've got endless to-do lists, and the simple thing is there are many more things that we usually try and do in a day than we can manage to do in a day. So time feels compressed. It feels as if there's not enough time for anything, so I'll just do that tomorrow, and tomorrow's going to feel like more or less the same. And the result of all of that is the perception that time is going by very fast. So here's the magical cure to how to stop the year flying by so quickly is do less. Do less and time moves more slowly, as if, ironically, to give you more time to do the things you want to do. Of course, as soon as you start doing those, time appears to speed up. So maybe there's a lesson in all of that for us. Maybe the lesson is that we shouldn't be filling our time with stuff at all. There's nothing that's really more important than your own path in life, and it would seem to reflect back to the ancient ideas that we really should be spending our time contemplating, finding out and working on who are we, what is this problem of being a human being, what does it all mean. In an ideal world, we'd have plenty time to look at all of that stuff, but maybe, just maybe, we can find a great halfway point that's going to allow us to do that. Something to think about as we go through this holiday season, and tonight, having a glance at the month ahead for January. Remember, I will be back in January to talk about the year ahead of 2019, so make sure you're back for that on January the 18th next year. We'll be talking all about that. But in the meanwhile, let's just talk about January itself. A few things to say about the country and the government during that time. It is a reasonably quiet time everywhere, but remember, in history, not so long ago, Jacob Zuma has been known to do dark and mysterious things in December when no one's paying any attention. And it's not that we can expect the current president, Ramaphosa, to do the same, but it does look like, looking at the charts, that there is some stuff going on during this month, December into January, when more or less behind the scenes stuff that we don't know, is really going down. So it does look like early in the new year there will be a few surprises and aces up the sleeve from the government. However, it also looks like President Ramaphosa's woes increase as pressure is mounting upon him to do something about some of the issues that are concerning South Africans, and which the President has managed to play his cards close to his chest in his strategy of allowing the slow process of due process to eventually reveal all the perpetrators. Great, but he has himself defended some of the perpetrators. He has kept some of them in his cabinet, and that has kept some South Africans really unhappy. So maybe it's in the month of January that we'll see more about that from him. But it does look like, as ever, there's all sorts of things going on which we just don't know anything about. So, some revelations over the course of the early part of the new year and in January itself. It doesn't look like a good month financially either. The rand might continue to struggle during the course of this month ahead, not making the recovery that was expected of it earlier in the month of December. Hopefully we will see some changes in that regard when we have another look next month at what's going on there. For the most part though, things are seemingly very quiet, but there's a lot of preparation going on, and the government as well as other parties are going to hit the ground running when it comes to preparing for the national elections, which are set to take place somewhere around May. So there will be plenty exciting stuff to talk about. As the year begins, we'll be looking at the year ahead, we'll be looking at your year ahead, of course, which is a little bit more exciting than the country, and we'll be carrying on our month-to-month basis. So let's have a look at the next month, the month of Capricorn, starting today on the solstice. Actually, solstice is tomorrow in South Africa, to be celebrated along with the full moon later on in the day, and that marks the beginning point of summer and of the month of Capricorn. What's happening for you during that month? Aries, you look like you're having an easy slide into the new year with not very much changing. You're kind of on a roll, things are smooth and even for you, and for the most part that's how it is going to carry on into the year. But it does look a little bit as if you might either be ignoring or avoiding some things, and your single-minded focus is making you neglect some important things, or even worse, allowing yourself to be a little sidelined. And that's the part that I need to alert you to. This is not the time to allow someone else to gain the upper hand, especially in your personal life. In your personal life, you need to see what's important for both of you, what's going on between the balance of power and the balance of duties and so on, because it kind of looks like there's a little bit too much landing up on your shoulders. You're carrying too much responsibility, and although you're feeling calm and confident and able to do it, and you probably are, there could be some conflict that arises later on out of all of this. There needs to be closer attention paid to what's going on for your partner as well. It does look like your partner might be struggling or having some kinds of difficulties, and you need to just make sure that the lines of communication are open so that you can meet halfway on that regard and make sure both your needs and your partner's needs are being taken care of. Then that easy slide into the year is going to produce the good results you're looking for. Taurus, looks like you have a few financial challenges as the year gets underway. The challenge can be less challenging with two things that you need to prepare for. One of which is there are some unexpected expenses or unexpected demands on your resources. Let's not even call them expenses, because you don't necessarily have to go down that road. They are not expenses that you have incurred. Demands on your resources might be because of feelings of obligation to other people, or situations where you have allowed yourself to become the source of something or become obliged in that way. So maybe you need some better boundaries around financial things in the month of January, especially since your own financial circumstances look a little up and down and unpredictable during this time. It does look as if you're feeling a little insecure in the process. Maybe one of the ways you can get on top of both of those things at the same time is to have a look in your life where you're not charging correctly for any services that you provide, where you're allowing money to fritter away, perhaps through paying unnecessary interest or not really keeping a proper budget. Anywhere where you're not in control, the money is leaking, and that is causing your insecurity. That is causing a whole vicious circle, which is allowing others to get their hands on your resources. So time to wind those in a little bit. Good boundaries, look after your own things, even spend a little bit on yourself. It's not going to undermine your security, but most important, collect, and you'll be in a much stronger position next month. You know, Geminis famously love excitement and stimulation, and there's no better place to get that than a journey or a holiday, especially this time of the year. It does look like you might get the chance, but for the most part, Geminis, don't rely too heavily on that. It might be that plans change, things can't quite work out the way that you wanted them to go. There are a few problems when it comes to the ideal vacation at the moment. So you're just going to have to chill and go with the flow. It's all about that. Worst case scenario, plans will not work out at all, but it really looks like your challenge at this time, both with respect to travel and with other things, is just to let go. Something that you're not bad at doing. You're good at adapting and going with the flow, and that's what this month is all about. In fact, going with the flow in January will produce all sorts of new and interesting resources and people for you. It is a bit of a lucky month, and if you go with the flow, your luck will show, and you might get unexpected gains and rewards. All kinds of good old-fashioned luck are good for you this month, so don't be shy at trying your hand on the lotto or any other kind of luck as well. So that's the balance. Your own plans seem to be foiled. Don't get too caught up and worried about that. Go with the flow, keep an open mind. The universe has got better plans for you this month. Cancerians also start with a lucky break in the year. It really does look like January is also all about luck for you, just like it was for your Gemini fellows. It's kind of an all or nothing situation, but pretty much it is about gain. The all or nothing situation means that it's mostly very good, strong luck. You can put yourself out there, you can take risks and take chances when necessary, but it's a little bit like fate has got plans for you. So like your Gemini next door neighbors, you're also going to need to kind of let go and go with the flow, not something that works easily for you. What is important for you and what might be really useful is input from other people. Luck sometimes looks completely random, as if it kind of falls out of the sky, but actually your luck in January is coming from people. That's both co-workers as well as friends and other groups that are important to you. In fact, if you do belong to any significant group or team, and that's whether that's working life or personal life, whatever the case may be, great gains can come from there. You do need to watch out in your personal life that your partner does not perceive you as giving more love and attention to the group and the team than they are themselves getting. So a bit of a balance required between working life and personal life, but it looks like if you appreciate the gains and work with them, put your energy into your personal life and it will pay off. Leos look a little bit like the quiet of December is continuing for you, and a surprisingly quiet December it was for you all. It does look like it's that you've gotten yourself involved in duties, responsibilities, or something which is keeping you away from doing what you love to do, your loved ones, and all the fun that goes along with that. So unfortunately, you're just going to have to knuckle down and deal with responsibilities. In general, January is a bit of a behind-the-scenes month for you this year, so it's a great time to get some of the admin done, some of the stuff done that you meant to have done by the end of last year, that's 2018, so that you can really set off 2019 on a strong note. You also have to accept some limitations and restrictions that have been placed on you. Maybe that's the same reason why you're having to work behind the scenes this month. Basically, it's just not your time to shine, so don't try that. You just rather need to discharge some responsibilities. It does look like an old friend or maybe a family member is an important source of strength and help this month, even if some of your duties and responsibilities are towards that person. That's really going to work out for you. So put your energy where it's an investment that pays off, and we'll be back in February to talk about the great month that you'll be having. Virgos, your year starts on a roller coaster-ish note, but mostly, remember, roller coasters are fun. So what do I mean? Well, it very much is your month. Seems like things are really working well for you. New Year's plans get off really well and things seem to be happening. However, it looks like there are delays and all sorts of obstacles that seem to come from other people. So it's a month where you'll be learning patience about other people, having to be patient with other people, and still finding the space to assert yourself and say what it is, because we need to be following you this month. You're going to have to be taking some kind of leadership, but it does look as if that's about standing up for yourself or standing up for your ideas. Quite frankly, some of what you're suggesting just is not going to fly, and it's going to be a question of having to defend that and justify that and clarify that. Stick to your guns. January is not a good month for you to acquiesce to someone else's demands or to yield to someone else's opinions. you're going to have to find a way to stay strong and firm, but accept the limitations of time and delays, not get too freaked out and demanding. You can easily get stressed and anxious. Stay strong, but don't get anxious when things don't seem to be working out. It's all about the strength this month. That's where you need to come from. What do you think? I'm not one to talk about New Year's resolutions or to recommend them. We all know where that rocky road leads most people to. But Librans, I think you actually do need to take yourself firmly in hand and resolve a few things so that this year is going to work a little bit better than the last few months of 2018. It looks like you've been drifting along in someone else's wake and have been making unnecessary sacrifices for another person. Sacrifice is a great and noble quality. It just needs to be properly placed. It looks as if you're idealizing your partner, or you're feeling perhaps a little bit let down by your partner. Either way, you're not going to get what you want or need from another person. So those New Year's resolutions that I alluded to are really all about defining for yourself what you need and what you want, and not be taken advantage of. It doesn't mean people are exploiting you. It just means your boundaries aren't good. That's also why your financial situation at this time has also become quite reduced. And if you think about it, a lot of your resources, your money, has been used for other people, and they probably didn't even ask for it. So it's not about being harsh or cold, it's just about having better boundaries. This month is find your boundaries, set that up. I called it a new resolution because you can make it your tone for the year, and you can actually end the year and the month of January on a much more forceful note. Scorpios could get the year off to a great start because it looks like you're managing to get your stuff together, where you stand, where you're coming from, and even money. It looks like a great month for money for you, especially money that comes from other people. And it could be a few things you could teach one or two others in the zodiac, like your Taurus cousins, of really getting the money in and making sure that who owes you what, that money's coming to you. So financially we're intact. Relationships might be a little bit on the edge because you're feeling strong and ready to roll, and it looks like you're pressing buttons maybe without knowing it. Scorpios usually do know it because you're tuned in and sensitive and very aware of where other people are at. Especially with regards to your personal relationships, this is not the time to press buttons unnecessarily. So make sure that you're not just causing trouble by being provocative. And you might just be trying to have fun, but it ends up causing trouble. Other areas of your life, that's much better. In professional life, anywhere where you need to take a stand or have a point of view or defend your own approach, this is going to be a great month for you. So January is great for clearing the boards, clearing your path and going ahead in your professional life. Focus the most there and lay off the ones you love. They don't get the joke. Things have really started looking up for Sagittarians in the last month or so, and January continues the trend. Firstly, that beloved of all Sagittarians, travel is a major option for you at this time, if you haven't managed that already in the last few weeks. But more than that, Sagittarians just love new stuff, new people, new input, new information, and of course new places. And that's a lot of what is going to be going on at this time for you. So getting lots of stimulation is what it's really all about. It's also going to be a time of some disagreements. You are cautioned against arguments, not as if you're cautioned against losing them. You might be cautioned against losing some friends because of arguments. It looks like your patience is at a bit of a low, and you're not in a mood to tolerate fools very easily. So perhaps it's also a good time to be looking at who do you have in your life, who's in your team, who's on your list of friends, and maybe a little bit of clearing out of that can do. The luck continues and things are working well for you, but typically you are being perceived as a little bit aloof or cold or uncaring, just moving on and focusing around your own stuff. It's a little bit like it's too much excitement. So focus again. Make sure that you're not causing unnecessary disagreements and discontent amongst your loved ones. But mostly, this is a great opportunity for you to carry on with your plans and your mission, because it looks like what you've got up your sleeve is unfolding. Keep at it. Capricorns, your strong sense of duty is very strong while your own planet Saturn is busy going through your sign. But don't get too bogged down by all of that responsibility and sense of duty, because it looks like January is supposed to be your fun month. You're just about to have a birthday. By the time January rolls around, you should be well into a feeling of a whole new you, or at least a new year. So this is the time to identify that side of your creative life that you're not addressing. The charts for this month show that you need to be having more fun, and that's the simplest way to find your own creative side. So start right over there. But fun is also about doing things that are important to you, that come from you, and that are things that you love. Have you taken a holiday yet? You know, it's the 21st of December and you're probably still at it, and you probably will be working through the season or working in January. So take the advice of the stars. It's your fun month, January. Even if you're still at work right now, make a deal for yourself. You don't need a resolution for the whole year. You just need it for your own Capricorn month of January. Take some time for yourself and focus on that project. Looks like there's been a creative project that was laid aside last year. Again, not a great time for New Year's resolutions because no one ever follows those, but a Capricorn resolution, get back to your true creative self, show what you are capable of doing rather than what you have to do. Those who really do have to do things a lot for others this month are the Aquarians, and it does look like you're caught up in all sorts of interesting projects where your skills and knowledge could be really useful, which is great, but you don't want to be taken advantage of. This month's chart does warn you against getting drawn into things which you're doing which don't benefit you at all, and not that you really need a benefit of any kind, but what you do need to take more care of is your health. This is not a great time to be exposing yourself to people who put any kind of stress or pressure on you, or who themselves might be ill. Essentially, that's about neglect, self-neglect. So if there's stuff you've been meaning to do, like have you had a dental checkup, or there's something that's been niggling you with your health, just get that done. It's not that you really have to worry about health, but this is really just about getting back to yourself and not having your energies and yourself being pulled in all sorts of different directions, because that's really the message of and the warning of the chart this month. Don't get pulled in a million directions. Be a little bit more selfish. Be much more selfish. This is a great time to establish roots, to connect with family and ones that you love. Don't go by a sense of obligations. Just get back to the basics of what's important for you, and perhaps you'll have time or space for others left over. Pisces also get to start the year on a whole fresh note in the next month, as you also need to draw some good boundaries between yourself and other people. But this is not about being roped into people's stuff. This is really about what you haven't said. In all your relationships, your most personal relationships and your least personal relationships, it looks like there's been stuff boiling up inside that hasn't really come out. In your personal life, this is probably going to come out all on its own. So beware of conflict and argument which has been allowed to be forced to the surface. In that situation, you're probably going to end up a loser. You might do more damage than you expect. So this is a time to pucker up, open your mouth, and confront what needs to be confronted in your personal life. In your professional life, as the year is getting going, it's about putting your ideas out there and being assertive. In this situation, you do not need to make any compromises. Remember, in your personal life, of course you do. But what's happening in your professional life requires you to step up and assert your own ideas and your own method and act with a certain amount of leadership. Not something that you're fond of doing, but something that really would be a great way to get a whole new year going. Act as if you're the most powerful and important person there. Make yourself feel that, but don't take that feeling home with you where a little bit more negotiation is going to happen. Like that, you can start a really great year. Well, it might be a new year and we might have had a holiday and all of those things, but it does look like there's quite a lot of planetary homework on the go for you as the year gets by. So get that going. As I said earlier, I will be back in January on the 18th with the year ahead for the country, and soon after that the year ahead for you personally. Of course, then we'll also be looking at a whole bunch of other things. Coming up the next couple of weeks, some of your favorite shows being repeated over the festive season, starting with learning all about your dreams, what do they mean, and how to remember them next week. Don't forget to tune in, and I'll see you again next year.